Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Moms on a Mission podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Shaw. Thank you so much for being here today. It's such an honor to have you here. Today's show, you will absolutely want to share. We welcome back to the show Pastor Artur Pawlowski. He is the Canada's pastor. And if you remember, he used to be in prison over 50 days. He was in solitary confinement, completely tortured by Canada's government. And now he is suing the government. And he's written a book called Lions Do Not Bow. He joins us today to talk about that. And most importantly, he talks about how this book is not about him. It is to inspire us and fill us with hope and teach us how to take a stand for truth and freedom as well. Don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss this. Pastor Artur Pawlowski, thank you so much for joining the Moms on a Mission podcast again. It's such an honor to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
So the last time you were on, you had just gotten some great news, and you really shared a lot of your story the last time you were on. I highly encourage everyone to go back and watch that interview because it's a great first interview to listen to your story. But since then, you've written a book called Lions Do Not Bow, The Unbreakable Courage of Canada's Pastor. And you've written that book to summarize your horrific abuse you've endured and the experience that you've received from the tyrannical Canadian government. And when you were here before, you briefly talked about your background, and you said that you had grown up in Poland under the boots of the Soviet regime. You thought you had escaped that tyrannical government when you moved to Canada. I remember you telling me you were told that it was one of the freest countries on earth, and you started a street church as God, really directed us to go and minister to the poor. And you had your street church, and you, oddly enough, ironically enough, which nothing's really ironic with the Lord, right? But ironically enough, you had been arrested and had experienced political and spiritual persecution even before COVID. And so I was just going to ask you, it began, I think you had said like 20 years ago. And so I was just going to ask you, what was the turning point? Because you had been arrested so many times for feeding the poor. They had those crazy rules that, it was illegal to feed them and to read the Bible and just all these crazy things. And you kept doing it. And I was just going to ask you, what was the shift from the normal arrest, which is sad to say, but the normal arrest for feeding the poor and preaching the gospel to when you started getting arrested with, because of all the COVID mandates?
Well, it was the same. You have to understand that this craziness did not start 4 years ago. They have been working on this for decades. When we emigrated to Canada, I think the idea was still here, and I truly believe that at some point this was the freest country on earth. And yet, some people, just like this is always the case in history, decided that we have too much freedom, that those so-called elites, or I call them the wannabe pharaohs, and I also call them the monsters that we have right now, they have decided that, through power and money, manipulation, misinformation, disinformation, of course, buying the mainstream media and turning them into a propaganda machinery, they can take those rights away from us. What we're observing right now, I have seen it before, and I've learned in history, this is the biggest, in my opinion, elimination of the middle class, because the middle class are the people that they still can afford to hire a lawyer and fight the regime. They have time. They can say, I'm not going to work for a week or two. I will protest. I will fight. They are educated. And it's a driving force in any economy. So what we are observing is that those elites are creating two categories of people. And you got to remember, what I see through the glasses of my childhood in Poland, because I did grow up in this kind of regime behind the Iron Curtain under the boots of the Soviets. So, in other words, I have seen this movie before, and I'm yelling and screaming, we must change the script or else. So they have been implementing, like my son Nathaniel always says, he studies law. And by the way, for his appearance before the European Parliament when I was on house arrest for a year and a half, my son delivered a speech in behalf of his father, me, pleading with the people for my life. Well, he, upon arrival for that horrible crime of exposing the totalitarian Canadian government, he got detained, and he was detained already 5 times for this. Every time he crosses the border, he gets arrested, detained, and then let go. We had to hire lawyers and fight. While he was blacklisted, he is not allowed to study in Canada anymore because he dared to expose the tyrannical government. He is in USA right now, in Virginia, finishing his law degree. But he has this saying that you have your rights. Of course, you have your rights. You have all the rights you want until you exercise them. Then you
Mhm.
find out that you don't have any rights, is what they say goes, and it's a death by thousand bylaws. So going back to your original question, is that they have been implementing those little laws. For example, I was arrested for giving free goods and services. I was told I cannot pray for anyone in public. I cannot give a sandwich to a dying child without special permission. I cannot feed the poor. I cannot congregate. I cannot sing. I was told that the name of Jesus is offensive. I became the first Canadian in 1996, 2006, sorry, where I got arrested, handcuffed, forced to go backwards, 7 police officers facing a year of imprisonment for publicly reading Bible. No
Wow.
amplification, 6 parishioners. So this has been on a go in a working for decades now. They have been implementing little infringement here, little infringement there. And of course, in America, you see this all the time. When I travel your beautiful country, I am approached by people who say, this will never happen here in USA. You are not just, you completely, I don't know where you are from, but you are not paying attention. Not only uh, this is going to happen, it's already happening. They say to me, we have Constitution of United States of America, we got our amendments, we got the Declaration of Independence, and I'm saying, well, tell that to the New Yorkers. Where
Yeah.
are their rights to carry? Or tell that to other people, or tell that to the January 6 people, that they have the rights to peaceful assembly. You have to wake up. That's my point. That's why I have been traveling around USA, warning you that we are truly living behind the Iron Curtain in China right now. And if you will not put your house in order, if you will not smarten up, you're next. And I'm so glad that you write for president, Donald J. Trump got that victory, because this is not just a victory for him and his family. This is a victory for all of us. It's a
That was
global
one of my
victory because,
questions. That was one of my questions for you. I was wondering, with him winning, how that would affect you in Canada.
well, it sends a message. It sends a very powerful message that if you are going to keep pushing this craziness, then you're next. We will come after you. And I don't know if you saw this clip of Donald J. Trump saying to Mr. Trudeau that if he gets elected again and comes to America, he himself will arrest him. He will be arrested. And he said, I'll throw the key and do Canadians a favor. And that's true, because this is a tyrant. He breaks the law over and over again. There is colluding with the Chinese. There are Chinese police stations on Canadian soil. There are Chinese soldiers being trained in British Columbia, in Alberta. I mean, I can go on and on and on. If I was the king, those people would be charged with treason. So that's what they are doing. They are selling our sovereign nation to whoever pays more. So this will be a ripple effect, because I'll tell you why this is so important. Because for the past 4 years, we were attacked with fear and terror. We were terrorized globally by those few people with lots of money, and people started to lose hope. When you lose hope, you become a slave. So my
That's right.
message, and that's why I wrote the book about this whole thing, lions do not bow. The book is simply telling you that if Artur Pawlowski with a funny English, with a broken English and funny accent can do it without a political power, without billions of dollars, that means anyone can. Because if one man can do it, that means everybody else can do it as well. And that's exactly what is happening right now. The whole world has been watching with very, with anticipation about what is going to happen last week on Tuesday, November 5th. And the message is very clear. Americans did the right thing. They flipped the tables, if you will, on the globalists. And if they achieve that, we can achieve this as well. It sends a powerful message to the whole world. Hey, wait a second. We thought we don't stand a chance against the giants of the land, uncircumcised Philistines, as I call them, or hyenas. And that's why the name of the book is Lions Do Not Bow. And lions do not bow before the hyenas. We eat them for breakfast. We don't negotiate with hyenas. We don't make deals or debates with hyenas. We just show up and we take what's rightfully is ours. You see, freedom is a God given right, it's not the government given right. That's why there is this huge problem right now because the governments they think that they can give and take. No, only God owns a human life and he gives it to us as a gift and all the rights and the freedom. You have to remember why I fought so hard and I'm still fighting. I'm still in courts. I'm still being, I just lost the Court of Appeal. We are filing our case to the Supreme Court of Canada. I'm still entangled in a so-called justice system here in Canada. But why? Because Jesus is and was and will be forever the biggest freedom fighter that ever lived. Jesus came and lived and died for our freedom. Who comes to the Son is free indeed. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. So the moment God shows up, it's over for the hyenas. And God has his people here. So the Canadian government, and it's not just Canadian government because it has been happening in USA as well, as there are people imprisoned, right, for exposing corruption. I mean, that's insane. They should be getting medals, not imprisonments. Those judges, if I was the attorney general, those judges would be charged with crime. In
Yeah.
USA, for putting those innocent people in prison, I would put those judges in prison. I would put those politicians in prison. If I was Donald Trump, I would go, it would be a witch hunt. I would go after those crooks because that's what they are. If they like totalitarian regime, I would buy them a one-way ticket to China or North Korea. Go there and don't come back. You will enjoy totalitarian regime in those countries. So not in USA, not in Canada. But they have been working on this for a very long time. A little infringement here, a little bit infringement there. That reminds me of 1930s, beginning of 1930s, 1933, where Adolf Hitler won his office, and Nazi Party became the ruling party. And within few years, do you know how many illegal laws were implemented against the Jewish people within this short period of time until, of course, Nazis attacked Poland in 1939? Over 2,000 little laws were implemented during that short period of time. And then, of course, in 1937, 38, 39, there was really nothing that the Jewish people could do anymore. They were completely enslaved. And I have to add that the Jewish people were not the first ones to be subjected to the Nazi tyranny. It was the German people that were the first victims of the Nazi party. Before Hitler attacked Europe, Poland, and started to murder everyone, he first started to murder his own people. And that's exactly what we are observing right now. Those governments are murdering Americans. Those governments are murdering Canadians, Poles, people in England, France, Germany, Australia, New Zealand. I
China,
mean,
China with the Cultural Revolution, he used his own people and used a Marxist approach, divided the people, used the Red Guard, the children, indoctrinated the children, brainwashed them, and created the Red Guard to kill everyone. I mean, it happens in every Marxist totalitarian regime.
it happens all the time. and unfolds the same way. It's like they're flipping the pages of the book, a different book, not a book like this that actually sets you free. This is a book that will give you hope, that would be give you boldness and courage. But they have their own book, how to become a tyrant, how to become a dictator, how to become a psychopath. They're flipping the pages and they say, okay, we need to implement this, and we have to do it in, in this cunning way. For that's why they're saying to you that everything they're doing is for your benefit, is to keep you healthy, is to save lives, and yet at the same time they are bloody murderers, psychopaths, hurting people for money. The pharma, the GMO, spraying with heavy metals on our skies, all of that poisoning our waters has one purpose: to enrich them. And that's why you see them getting bigger and bigger, the BlackRock and other organizations, and the smaller businesses are being wiped out because, again, they are creating in front of our very eyes two categories of people: them, the wannabe pharaohs, the kings, the tyrants, and then you and me, slaves. And this will not change until people will rise up. You see, my story is a story of a nobody in the eyes of men, with God, who is somebody that came to the rescue. They tried to assassinate me probably more times than they tried to assassinate your rightful president, Donald Trump. They lit my house on fire. They lit our church on fire. They burned down our children's bus. They broke into our property. They broke into our church multiple times, robbed us from our equipment, speakers, cameras. They unscrewed tire in my pickup truck. I was physically attacked. Guns, knives, punched in the face, bear spray, assassination attempts when I was touring the United States by Antifa multiple times. And then, of course, when I was imprisoned, well, let's tell the people why I was imprisoned. I was imprisoned many times, but the last time, my crime, which I was charged with terrorism, I became the first Canadian in the history of our country that has been charged with interfering with the crucial infrastructure under the Defense Act for sermon. My whole crime was delivering a sermon to a hurting Canadians. During my sermon, I told them, stand for God and state given rights, but do it peacefully. No guns, no swords. Do it solidarity style, which is non-compliance, general strike, civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr. style, Mahatma Gandhi style, peacefully. For that, I was arrested by every force in the land. I have been arrested many times by different forces, but this last time I was arrested. Listen, anti-terrorists, they blocked entire street in front of my home. I was monitored for a week later, we found out, by undercover police. They were undercover police. They were uniformed Calgary police. They were RCMP, that's like your FBI, detectives, special force from anti-terrorism unit, and a SWAT team with cameras. I was recorded with everything they had. For what? I have never been charged with any violent crime. I have never been charged with assault. The only thing they needed to do is send a memo to my, or, a text or an email to my lawyers and say, there is a warrant for your client's arrest. Can you arrange him to turn himself in? That would be it. All my arrests stepping out of the plane for touring United States. I was arrested on a tarmac. How many people you know? How many people you have ever seen being arrested on the tarmac? I've never seen it. It was like truly takedown of El Chapo of Calgary, Al Capone of Canada. This is ridiculous, but you got to remember why they're doing this. They're doing this because they're sending a message. So I decided to send a message of my own. And when I was arrested, stripped naked, metal cages, they kept me in metal cages.
Like an animal.
It's just incredible, unbelievable when they kept me in solitary confinement and they would drag me from one cell to another on concrete. When I was viewed as the most dangerous terrorist in the country, I was kidnapped by sheriffs, taken hundreds of miles away without the knowledge of my family or my lawyers. They put me in MaxPot for the most dangerous terrorist in the country. Then they took me into a psych ward without the evaluation of the doctors, without the knowledge of Alberta Health Services, completely illegal, Soviet style, dealing with the political dissident. So what I decided to do, if this is my thing, and you got to remember, I was told I will be there for 2 years in such a horrible conditions. So I thought, if I am going to spend 2 years here, at least let something good come out of it. I'll document the story. I'll let the people know what's going on. So I decided to write everything that was happening, the background story, why I yelled at those people, lion, get out of our church. Remember, get out Nazis, get out Gestapo. Why? What led to that? I'm telling people about, you know, the previous year that I was hunted down and attacked by the Canadian government without mercy all the time. Interactions, courts, arrests, my famous arrest in the middle of the highway in rain on my knees, and then arrest, of course, after I tour United States of America, warning Americans that you're next. You must rise up. You must stand up, or you will be swollen by the new globalist hybrid of Marxism, communism, socialism, fascism, all those isms combined together. Because you got to remember, our enemy knows the history. So
That's right.
they have been implementing the historical things,
And
how
they
to
really
become.
know they saw the success in China. They saw the success in Nazi Germany. You lie till you get into power, and then you take control and you kill your people and you scare the tar out of them, and you just rule with an iron fist so that they're scared to really rise up. And you're right, like they know the history, but they've captured our education system, so they've dumbed everybody down, so people don't even know. I mean, how is this even an option that some people are thinking the Holocaust didn't happen? Like, oh, what on earth? I mean, it's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, because it's propaganda. Adolf Hitler was very good at propaganda. Communists were very good at propaganda. Just keep lying, keep saying the same story over and over again, and eventually people will believe it. So that's the game. What was Goebbels? He was the minister of propaganda. Didn't he say something? Propaganda, propaganda. What it matters is just propaganda. Or Stalin had a very good saying. He said, "It doesn't matter who votes; is who counts the votes that
That's right.
matters." So I remember when Putin was running. I mean, I'm saying this as a joke, running for office. I remember the stories of villages that twice as many showed up to vote as there were people in that village. Even the dogs and the cats and the dead were voting for their new hero Putin. So nothing is new under the sun, the Bible says. But why it's important to let the people know what's going on? Because when I was in a business, that was like 150 years ago, before I became a pastor, we had this saying: information is more important, it's more valuable than money. Why? Because if you know how to make money, if you know where to invest your money, making money is very easy. Actually, believe it or not, it's extremely easy to make money if you know the right information. And some of those people have that information. So, what I decided to do, I started to write the story. If I am to be subjected to this tyranny, at least I will let the people know how this happened, what happened. And I started to write the book. And then, it started with, I'll show you here. I started to write this on pieces of paper that inmates were giving me because I was so popular in prison. They all recognized me. They were bringing me those pieces of paper for request forms. So I was writing on request forms, and hundreds of pages. And believe it or not, the Canadian government got so scared of my write-ups that they confiscated my write-ups already 3 times. Three
Wow.
times the Canadian government confiscated my manuscript. We had to
Well, you
fight to
said
get
in
it
your
back.
book, you said in your book that you'd actually written down some of the guards' names and some of the things, and that the drugs that were coming in and all that, and that they confiscated it because that was a threat to them to be exposed.
That's right. And again, we're going back to the whole essence of the book is courage. They blanketed the whole earth with fear and terror. What we need to do is blanket this whole earth with boldness and courage. We must become the lions and lionesses that God wants us to become. When I was in Africa, and I share this story because it's important for us to understand what God wants us to become. When I was in Africa, we have orphanage and medical clinic, and we started churches in Kenya. So I was privileged to see lions and other animals in the savannah. Every time I go over there, I spend a few days in the savannah, just observing, praying, and I would see those lions entering the savannah. And I'm telling you, they were so beautiful and majestic. It's like they know who they are. It's incredible. The birds would stop chirping and the monkeys would stop playing and the zebras, the ears would go up and would like, wow, the lions have arrived. The way they walk with their head up, and they you don't have to explain to them who they are. They know they're the kings in the castle. They know this is all mine. God has given it to us. And God spoke to me when I was watching them hunt and interact, and the hyenas, laughing in their evil, sinister way, and how they were reacting to that. God spoke to me. He says, I want you to act like a lion. First, you have to know who you are in God. Who is your God? Do you even know who is your God? How powerful and mighty He is? And also, you need to know who you are in God. You're not the tail. You know what is hiding? What the tail is hiding? You are not the tail. You're the head. You were called to be the head. So act like it. Know who you are. Know who your God is, and then you will be like David, that will say to the giant, the mountain of a man, there was just an obstacle. You see, David knew that on the other side of that mountain of a man was his destiny. That's why he was eager to run. He takes the stone, he knocks the guy, uses enemy's own device, chops his head off, finishes the job. The rest is the history. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. In the fire, God dealt with their enemies. In the fire, they had an encounter with the living God. In the fire, they had a testimony for the whole world to see. And to this day, we read about it. In the fire was their promotion. Daniel in a lion's den. How many people on earth can actually testify? I was thrown in a lion's den and the angels shut their mouths so I would not be hurt. Those are the stories that are absolutely fascinating. So the question is, you have to have your own story. What's your story? I was faithfully a pew warmer for 40 years. I kept my mouth shut because it was easier. Like, what is your story? You love Jesus, but no one knows you're a believer. I'm a pastor, but I will not talk about what's relevant today. Children are being murdered. Politicians are bloody liars. Media is a propaganda. Are you seriously not going to talk about what's relevant? You have blood on your hands. So the book Lions Do Not Bow is a book that will challenge you, will show you that you must rise up, you must stand up, you must be counted as one of the heroes of faith. That is your turn. God will give me mini services, sermons during that time in isolation. Not only I'm telling you what happened before, a little bit of history, a little bit of rallies and protests and the freedom convoy, but also I am giving you a little bit of a mini sermons telling you what God was downloading, because you see, I had no distractions. I was locked in a cage, no TV, nothing to do. And I was walking back and forth, praying and asking God, okay, what are you going to tell me? What is next for me and my family? Also, others rose to the occasion. There was so many people protesting. My wife, my children, my brother David, they were protesting, and this has become the longest protest in the history of prison. For every day I was on the inside, they were on the outside, blasting speakers during church services, challenging the authorities, exposing them, live streaming, and of course tens of thousands of Americans that phoned and sent letters and put pressure on the corrupted government here. All of that in a book, all of this is in a book. the attempted bribery. They offered me, so far in my career, in quote, they offered me $2 million to shut up. They offered me a guaranteed seat at the legislature. They offered me a government job and other things. For 10
Wow.
months, multiple meetings, including a phone call from the premier. Premier is like your governor, to keep my mouth shut. And then I would be greatly rewarded for it. I refuse. I refuse to be their puppets, the globalist puppet. I was born to be free. Jesus set me free, and no man has the right to enslave me. You can
I want
lock me in a prison, but you cannot enslave my soul and my spirit and my mind and my
That's
heart.
right.
So
I wanted to ask you real quick about your chapter, Lions Do Not Bow. And this was something that I found to be incredibly fascinating. I just interviewed Derek Evans. He is a January 6th political prisoner. He was in federal prison for 3 months. I just had him on the other day, and he talked about, I asked him about solitary confinement, and I asked him what that was like. It just sounds absolutely torturous. I know that that is a way that they torture people, is by isolating them. And I think that is by no mistake what happened during 2020 with COVID. I think that separation was intentional. But you said in that chapter, Lions Do Not Bow, after a straight 28 hours in solitary, I was finally let out. It was not only wrong, but I'm sure it was illegal. It was purely and simply psychological torment. And you said they were actually getting away with murder. How on earth did you? I know that you prayed, but how did you keep your wits about you? Because that is psychological torture.
it is, and you got to remember they did it to me many, many times. Even when they would take me from my normal cell, which is a small cage, to another even smaller cage on concrete, no water, no washroom. All of that had one purpose: to break me. Because the Crown Prosecutor Stephen Johnston, which I included in a book, he said I'll spend 2 years in this kind of conditions, and the only thing they wanted was their front page. At that time I had become a little bit of a symbol of resistance and fight and solidarity, kind of 21st century. And I was told, if you say you're sorry, you can go home. If you sign this paper, you can go home. They even offered me that I will be charged only with the smallest offense. Just the only thing they need from me is to sign the paper. So I'll tell you what is the worst than solitary confinement. And I think that if I didn't have that ingredient, I would be broken. But the one thing that is the worst for human being is this thought that I am alone, that I have been abandoned, that no one cares, that God doesn't care, people do not care, family doesn't care. But when I would be let out, the first thing I would do is take a shower and grab a phone. That's why they were messing with my phone privileges. That's why the inmates were giving me their numbers and voice activated phones, so I can keep having this lifeline with the world on the outside, because they wanted me to think that I have been abandoned, that no one cares, and that I'm going to die here. But every time I would grab a phone, I would hear, for example, I would say to my wife, I think God has chosen the wrong man. I don't think I can endure this. This is so crazy what they're doing. And especially when I learned that I will be in isolation for 2 years. I mean, I would not make it. I would definitely not be normal. So I said to my wife, I think that God made a mistake. I think he has the wrong guy. But my wife said, listen, this is no longer about you. This is no longer about our family, our little church. Thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are watching the story now. And this story is about them. You cannot quit. You cannot throw a towel. You have to endure, because this is no longer about you. This is so much bigger than Artur Pawlowski. And she says, and they are calling me nonstop. The phone is never sleeping. Text, emails, phone calls, nonstop, she said. Nonstop. We had to get one person just to monitor nonstop the messages that were coming. And You're not alone. That's what she kept telling
Mm.
me every day. You're not alone. There is a massive amount of people that are standing with you. Do not quit. Do not give up. This will pass. This will be over one day. It will be like a bad dream. You cannot quit. So when you hear this and then you go back, sometimes I would be let out for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then back 25, 26 hours in a box. I was going nuts, but I would remind myself that this is bigger than Artur Pawlowski. This is bigger than our family. This is bigger than our church. That there is so many people that are looking at this story, and I knew that this story one day is going to give courage to others to stand up and do what's right. You got to remember, I am your typical David and nobody, without power or friends, just the one that even the father didn't really like. The brothers didn't like him. And yet God has chosen David for such a time as this. And that's the story of Artur Pawlowski. He has chosen me for such a time as this. He has given me the stubbornness of a Polish immigrant, and Poles are very stubborn. I think I am a combination of all the donkeys combined together in a character. I had many time people coming to me and said, "Do you really want to die on this hill?" And I would look at them and say, like, if there is any hill that Ardabolowski was to die on, this is it. I
That's
mean, what
right.
you're looking for any other hills? This is the hill. They came for us. They came for our faith. They came attacking our God. They came and are trying to murder our children. They're wiping our ability to provide for our family. Do you see any other hill? Because this is it. If we
That's
will
right.
not rise up now, we will have no other hills. Believe me, this is the fight. This is where we draw the line. And if I had more people, this horror would end sooner. So I'm challenging the people in the book, but also this book is not about look at look at poor me. Look what they've done to me. No, no, no. That's not the book. The book is look what they have unleashed against this man and his family, and yet look what the mighty things the Lord has done for him and his family. We're walking victoriously. I was offered millions of dollars to shut my mouth. Now the book for the past week is the bestseller on
Wow.
Amazon.ca for a week now. Every day we are checking, and my publishers were sending, we ran out of the copies in the first day. It's a
Wow.
fascinating story because look, the enemy came and they said, shut up. What God did, and God will do this always when he will find a man that is willing to go all the way. You see, we Christians, we make a very big mistake. We think that God's grace, God's salvation is a cheap grace, but it cost the Father the life of His Son. It cost the Son His own life, His own blood. Do we really think that it's not going to cost us anything? No, I
Right.
would suggest to you that it will cost you everything to follow Jesus. And when He will find a man or a woman that is willing to go all the way, your life becomes a testimony. The Revelation, it says, we will overcome the enemy, right? With the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So when you're washed with the blood of Jesus, you have a testimony. Now you go and shine, talk, expose the wickedness in the land. And
To that point, I just you've really answered a lot of my questions before you had a chance to ask them. And one of these is this: in your chapter "Lions Do Not Bow," you said something that really, really struck me and resonated with me. You said, "I believe that many Christians have an incorrect view of God and who He is. Most people believe He's all about kindness, mercy, forgiveness, love, and grace. He's so much more than that. He's also wrath, vengeance, and holiness." And then you continue to say wickedness must be confronted. And you talk about how people kind of create Jesus in their own image. And I just wanted you to speak to that.
yeah, you see, we have been lied. Not only politicians lied to us, but also religious politicians have been lying to us for decades. Why? Religion is a control mechanism. A religion enables those leaders to manipulate and control or give you half the truth, or even 99% of the truth is still a lie because they're milking you. They are giving you what they know resonates with you, just like the crooked politicians, so they can receive what they want from you. In other words, if they give you the right messages, then you will give them the money at the collection plate. If you give them what they want, gluten-free donuts and the best coffee on earth and a nice facility, well, then they will be coming and giving you for entertainment. People love to be entertained. People love to give and pay for entertainment. However, Jesus is so much different. He was not catering to people's emotions. Have you noticed that it's all about feelings right now? You don't want to
Yeah,
hurt their feelings. Well, God hurts your feelings every single time you read the Bible. If
that's
you
so
read the
true.
Bible, your feelings will be hurt because He is holy and you're not. We're striving to be better, but we will never achieve outside of God the holiness. We are to be holy because He is in us. So the holy God dwells in us, and that's what makes us holy. But not because of our flesh. Our flesh constantly wants to do stupid things, constantly wants to sin. So we have molded because of religion and control and manipulation and half truths. We have molded God into our own image. Well, we are imperfect, therefore God is a flip flopping politician that changes his mind every 5 minutes. It's like I had so many people coming to me and they said, "Well, that says the Lord," and then a week later, a month later, they would change their mind. Well, God is not a schizophrenic God. Politicians are the schizophrenics. Pastors, in majority, are the schizophrenic ones. But my God is unchangeable, unmovable, unshakable God. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Jesus Christ is the same. So we have to take the good, the bad, and the ugly, as I call it. And sometimes when I read the Bible, most of the time when I prepare my sermons, I don't believe it or not, I don't buy my sermons like 99% of the pastors online. I actually prepare my sermons, and sometimes it will take me a few days to meditate on it, to think about it. God, what are you saying to me first? Because I need your words today, fresh manna today. What is happening today? Give me something today, and for tomorrow. And then when I deliver those words, I can deliver those words without compromise. The way it is. Take it or leave it. Believe it or not, Artur Pawlowski did not write the Bible. I said that many times. You have a beef, not with me. If you don't like the Bible, you don't have a beef with me. I'm just a messenger. Talk to the one that wrote the Bible. But people don't like that. So they have created religion and denominationalism. Again, we're going back to those isms because all the
Mhm.
isms, fascism, globalism, humanism, socialism, communism, whatever ism, denominationalism, all of those different isms have purpose. And the purpose is to control people, control them with fear, control them with manipulation, control them with giving them only half what they really need. So that's why I think we are in such a big trouble, because when you really read the Bible, you see that, oh my God, I have been lied. All my life, I have been lied. Again, we are coming to God for freedom. And if you're being lied to, you are a slave to the lie. But when you're being presented with the truth, suddenly the truth sets you free. So I'm talking a lot about
Right.
those things in the book because I want the people to understand we have been lied to by politicians, by the media, and by the clergy. What was the biggest problem that Jesus faced? Was the political realm and the religious realm. I would suggest to you that the religious realm was more wicked and evil than the political realm, because the political realm wanted to set Jesus free, but it was the religious realm that was terrified of the exposure. Because you got to remember, when the real shows up, the fake is terrified. When the light shows up, the darkness has to go. You resist the devil and he flees. So when a man like me shows up, I already stir the pot, not because that's my intention, is my spirit. that is in me, God's spirit, irritates their demons. And they hate me on the spot without even talking to me or even knowing who I am or what I stand for. Because
Well, you are absolutely living that scripture, Ephesians 6:12, where we don't fight against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against wickedness in high places. And I mean, your life is a living example of that. And also the scripture that says, you know that we will experience in this world persecution. And we think about how all the disciples died, or most all of them died, and they were torturous, horrific deaths. And I'm not saying that that's what we have to do to be a follower of Christ, but boy, I mean, we should be willing to take a stand. And when that opportunity comes, we should be saying yes. And I wanted to ask you, Pastor Art, how can folks find this book, purchase this book, and then also how can they follow you and connect with you?
well, before we go over there, I know we're running out of time. I just want to make this statement that there's so many so-called Christians, which in my opinion are fake Christians, but that's another story, that have been attacking viciously and hating Donald Trump. And yet they are cowards, the keyboard warriors that refuse to make a stand, refuse to do anything. Their God, their king is the Pharaoh. And yet here is the man that is a worthy man in so many ways, right? He had a worthy life for decades. And yet it was him, when he was shot in the face, stood up and said, fight, fight, fight. I mean, this guy is more courageous, more full of faith for tomorrow than 99.9% of the so-called Christians, and definitely majority of the pastors and the clergy. And he's a fascinating story that here you have a Gentile, if you will, in quote, having more faith, more courage and boldness to do what's right than majority of the churchgoers. It's fascinating. If it comes to finding the book, please, if you want to help me out, we have decided with my wife that the entire proceeds from this book are going back to the fight. I am suing the Canadian government, Attorney General of Canada. I'm suing police, RCMP, the Canadian FBI. I'm suing the prison for what they did to me, and other players. It's hundreds of people that are. We are alleging conspiracy to commit crime. So we're not just going after the money. We are alleging that those different political and government entities conspired criminally against me and my family. With my brother David, we're suing them for all of that. But as you know, I'm not Donald Trump. I don't have unlimited resources. I don't have a billionaire's friends. So we are fundraising. And the book, we don't make a lots of money from the book. I think it's $6 that is left over. But when the numbers keep coming, it adds up and enables me to keep fueling the lawyers. I have an entire law firm that goes after the government because I believe that the people deserve to know who did this to them and why it was done to them. And we cannot do this unless we push and proceed, uncovering, moving the stones, looking under. And the civil litigation gives us all that power, and it will make it to the public realm, because when you are suing someone, it becomes a public knowledge and public documents. We will be able to show the people who the players are and what they did. Also, we never stop feeding the people. We feed thousands of people on the streets of Calgary every single week, 3 times a week. And I pastor 2 churches, streetchurch.ca. And please, we are in a little bit of a trouble right now because of the huge amounts of expenses that I had to give. Even rescuing my son was $50,000 in legal fees just to get him out of his pickle with coming back from testifying in front of European Parliament. So the fight is brutal because the way they fight, they know you're just a little guy, so they are unleashing lawfare against you, preventing you from surviving this because you just simply cannot afford to keep fighting. So together, one man cannot do it, one family cannot do it, one little church cannot do it. But when we come together, we will be unstoppable, unmovable, unshakable, and we will win because God wants to give us that victory. One lion can be overpowered by 20, 30 hyenas. The moment a second lion shows up, it's over for the hyenas. If you don't believe me, Google it up. A lion's attacked, and when the second shows up, hyenas are running like rats that they are, like cockroaches in front of the light. So streetchurch.ca, you can donate. There is a legal fight. You can read our allegation in legal fight over there, and you will be shocked what they have done to me. In the book, I did not include everything because I didn't want this to be a horror story. I wanted this to be a courageous, a challenge to the people that we can win no matter what evil unleashes on us. But when you read the allegations in a court, your hair will stand up. Also, you can go to Amazon.com, Amazon.ca for Canadians. There is also, if you don't want to support Amazon, I mean, we don't have many choices. You can go to other stores, the bookstores, Indigo in Canada and other places as well. The QR that you're showing, it takes you to the directly to the publishers. Also, if you want to give a bloody nose to the devil, you got to remember the story of Artur Pawlowski is a story of them telling me, shut up, don't talk, don't expose, don't tell the people what's really going on. You can help me to expose those people to the whole world. You know, when I do shows, I can only tell you just the bits and pieces, just a little bit about what happened. The book gives me this ability, this opportunity to tell you the background, what was in my heart, why I said what I said, why I called them by their proper pronouns, Nazis and Gestapo, why I kicked them out, what led to this. I didn't wake up one day and say, okay, I wish I would be the guy known for yelling at the police officers. No, 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 no. There is a story behind all of that. I became the first Canadian that got a COVID ticket for feeding the homeless, not even for keeping the church's doors open, for feeding the poor. I'm explaining all of this, and it's a big book. It's 500 pages with pictures and a narration, a little bit of history. What is a show trial that happened to me? What Gestapo actually means? It means political police. I'm giving you the background every day what happened in prison, but also about the remedies, how we are to fight them when circumstances such as mine would come your way, how you win this fight. Because you cannot become an ostrich. You cannot put your head in the sun, because what is sticking out if you do that? You can use your
Yeah,
own
we know.
imagination, right?
Right.
So we must
Yeah.
lions facing our enemy. I call it the head-on collision, Artur Pawlowski style. That means when they were telling us to shut the church, I opened an extra day. When they told us no Lord's Supper, I said every time we meet, we will have a Lord's Supper. When they told us singing is illegal, I told them to sing more songs and hired more carolers for Christmas celebration. When they told us not to feed the poor, I would feed even more people. I would every day we would send a truckload of food to native reserves and to other communities. I would send a mass amount of people to door knock and find the elderly that were locked in their properties, afraid to go out shopping. We would send them groceries. You see, you fight the enemy by doing everything opposite what the enemy is telling you to do. That's how you fight. That's what a man of
Good.
faith does, not by words, but with deeds.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today. But also, I know this fight isn't about you. It's for Canada, and it's really for America and the entire globe. Spotting out tyranny, calling it out, and then standing for freedom, and knowing that you have the entire power of heaven backing you. So I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. So much for doing that. And thank you for joining me today. And I encourage everyone to go out and get your book, Lions Do Not Bow. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you. I don't know about you, but Pastor Artur Pawlowski's story just hits home with me, because what we've seen in America, the tyranny and the weaponization of our government against us, Pastor Artur Pawlowski, he lived that in Poland. And just to see him standing in Canada and even coming to America and encouraging Americans to stand for freedom, it's just so inspiring. And I just love how President-elect Donald Trump, how that is inspiring other countries and is affecting other countries in a positive way as well, just blesses me. And so I just encourage you, to pray and ask the Lord, what can I do? What can I do to stand for freedom? And really get that book and read the details of the story. It is so incredibly encouraging and inspirational. And I believe will help you stand for truth and freedom in your space and your family and your cities, wherever you are. Hey, one way we can support our families, not just standing for freedom and truth, is standing for health in our families. I know we are so incredibly busy as moms and just Americans in general, whether it's work or dinner or taxiing our kids around or going to meetings. And sometimes we don't get enough sleep and we get exposed to viruses and bacteria. And one way we can protect our families and ourselves this winter season is to build a strong immune system. Get sleep. I'm preaching to myself there, but also to take immune boosting products. I absolutely love COVID Light and COVID Vite from Dr. Stella Emanuel. These products, I will never talk to you about something I don't passionately, absolutely love. I take these every day. But if you go to DrStellaMD.com and you hop on that website, you go to Marketplace, you hit that icon, you scroll down, you'll see this COVID Light and COVID Vites. The COVID Light, this orange flavor, they also have another banana and mango, but this orange one is my favorite. It's just a scoop of powder and you just stick it in some water and it actually tastes amazing. That's the best part of it all. But it has zinc and quercetin and things that your body needs to help protect you against all the viruses. And then the COVID Vites, those are just pills that you can swallow. You take 2 a day. My son takes 2 a day. I ask him many times in the week, did you take your COVID Vites? Because I think it's really important this winter to be prepared and to build a strong immune system. It's hard to stand for freedom and truth if we're sick and not feeling well. So just go to DrStellaMD.com today. Use the code MISSION. The code MISSION will save you 5%. And so you'll save some money. And then it also will bless the Moms on a Mission podcast. I wish this were free, but guess what? It turns out it's not. And so you supporting your family like that and using the code MISSION at checkout is also supporting the Moms on a Mission podcast. And for that, I am so very grateful. Thank you so much. Don't forget to share this episode. Follow us on Rumble, and God bless and have a great day. Hey, everybody. Did you know that recent research from the CDC says that millions of Americans develop parasitic infections and symptoms often go unnoticed or are misdiagnosed? Parasites are actually the cause of many health problems such as anxiety, depression, chronic pain, fatigue, and unexplained digestive issues. We all need a common sense strategy to improve our health. Moms on a Mission encourages you to reach out to our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean. Dr. Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all natural detoxification and fights inflammation. And the supplements are made with 100% organic ingredients and are proven to kill parasites safely and effectively. I know after I took Full Moon Protocol, I had more energy. To order your Full Moon Protocol today, go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. According to leading sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle getting a good night's rest. That's why Moms on a Mission loves MyPillow. MyPillow makes amazing pillows, sheets, mattress toppers, robes, towels, literally almost everything you need for a good night's sleep. They also make dog beds for your dogs. So by going to mypillow.com, typing in the code MISSION, you not only receive a high quality product, but you're supporting Moms on a Mission and this podcast. If you like what you're hearing and you agree with it, you believe in it, and you want to support Moms on a Mission, then go to mypillow.com today and order some high quality products and just type in the code MISSION at checkout and you can save up to 66% off. That's mypillow.com, code MISSION.
Since 2014, Organic Body Essentials has offered clean, simple, certified organic skincare. Our organic face-to-feet and federally compliant hemp and pet products are manufactured under USDA and FDA guidelines. Our products are inspired by God using plants He created. In Ezekiel 47:12, it says, "The fruit is for food and the leaves for healing." We believe in the power of God to heal, so we pray over our products and for our customers. Our therapy in a bottle approach has been widely received, and our customers' testimonials continue to inspire us. You can find us at organicbodyessentials.com and obe.organicbodyessentials.com. Please feel welcome to reach out with questions. Use coupon code MISSION at checkout for a discount. Thank you for your support by using Mission at checkout to benefit moms on a mission and their quest to reestablish traditional values in our education system and empowerment for a healthy lifestyle.